Hey, horror fans, welcome back to Jay vs. Horror and another episode of Hardcore Horror Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about the 2000 film Subconscious Cruelty. Now, guys, I say 2000, but this film's actually kind of hard to pin down. It was filmed between 94 and 99. It was finished in 2000, but nobody actually saw it until 2001. Now, the film was written and directed by Kareem Hussein, and it was produced by Mitch Davis. Uh, it's an interesting film. It's broken up into four segments. I'm only really going to talk about two of them because the other two aren't that interesting. I'll pass over those slightly, though. The film opens with a voiceover that kind of tells us what we're in store for here. It talks about death and life and cruelty and all that stuff, similar to something like Der Todesking or The Death King. But this movie's not, as nearly as artistic as that film, I would say. So the opening segment is kind of lame. It's dull, I would say. It's, your basic shock stuff. Woman on a slab getting cut up, that kind of stuff. And then we move on to the second segment, which is a interesting segment. It's about the best way I can describe it. It starts off when we see this guy in this what we believe is an apartment building at first, and he seems to be spying on his neighbor, and he's obsessing over her, masturbating as he watches her bring these random men home and have sex with them. And then we see that she is now pregnant, like 8 or 9 months along, and the entire time this is going on, the guy is narrating his own thoughts, and he's really trying to present himself as this uber intelligent psychopath. Some of it works, some of it's like, yeah, okay, guy. I mean, sometimes when you have epiphanies at 25, 30, 40 years old, the only reason why you're having an epiphany at that age is because you weren't smart enough to have this idea before then. It's not anything groundbreaking that anyone else hasn't thought of. So I kind of got that feeling with this guy, like he's really overly pretentious in some of his expressions because he is very insecure and wants people to believe he's intelligent, regardless of whether he is or not. So during all this, we hear his thoughts and we find out that he's basically a psychopath who loves to commit violent acts and do horrible things to people. And this culminates when we find out that this is actually not an apartment building. It's really a house in the middle of nowhere, and this woman that he keeps obsessing over is actually his sister. There's a little bit of background about their childhood that tries to explain a little bit of why he feels this way about her, but it doesn't exactly, fill the void of the knowledge. There's no reasoning behind any of this, no logical reasoning for any of these actions. And so then we see that he's come up with this plan to commit the ultimate evil act, and that is to attack his sister while she's giving birth and murder her and her child in a horrific manner. And so that's basically what happens. Can't really explain it any better than that. The scene it's pretty horrific. It's one of the most disgusting things I've seen on film. I wouldn't say the rest of this movie holds up to that standard. It's not as disgusting as films like a Traz or maybe even a Serbian film, but this one segment definitely does hold up to that, if not exceed some of that. So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting segment. It's something I haven't seen done before, and it does take a few, I won't say twists, but a couple turns that keep you interested during this story. It's one of the longer segments of the film. So, yeah, and then we move on, and our next segment is just kind of like, I don't know, I guess I would call it a orgy or a fuck for all. It's just a bunch of people in a field, and there's blood or crude or whatever it's supposed to be coming up out of the ground, and they're humping the ground and they're humping each other, and I guess it's supposed to be an artistic metaphor, but for what? Who knows? I guess because we're fucking the earth or something. I don't know, but anyway, that's not one of the stronger parts of the film, and then it moves on to the last part, and in this segment we see a guy who is enamored with pornography. He rushes home to watch pornography, and they're actually showing it in the movie, which is kind of weird. Like, I'm sure it's an effect, but it looks very real. It looks like they just put some porn on, right? So we see this guy. He's watching this double penetration pornography stuff, and he's masturbating. And this goes on. It seems like forever. And it gets to a point where you're like, come on, like who takes that long to masturbate? You're getting annoying at this point, you know. And but yeah, this goes on for a minute, and then when the guy finally climaxes, then of course he's, you know, wrapped in Christian guilt or Catholic guilt, whatever you want to call it. I guess it's the same thing, pretty much. But he's wearing a cross around his neck, and all of a sudden he remembers that he's got Christian values, and he's pissed off. Not at himself, of course. He's not mad at himself. He's mad at the women in the porno. So this makes a lot of sense. It actually does, considering some of the people like that we all know, and so then, he goes to bed and he has this weird dream, and it plays out as kind of like there's some stuff in here that's metaphorical about religion, and then there's stuff in here that they try to take the metaphors of religion and show them in literal terms. And I don't know if they're mocking religion or if they're just trying to show you how ridiculous some of these ideas could be if they were, realistically shown to you. I don't know. The metaphorical stuff that works is kind of like they show this guy, he puts his cross in some tinfoil and cooks it down like heroin and injects it into himself. There's some interesting stuff there about how, people can use religion as a drug. We always say that, or not we, I would say a lot of people say that, religious people are weak-minded and they need a crutch to stand on, or they can't make it in the world. If they don't have, something behind them that tells them everything's going to be all right at the end, and they're really going to live forever and all this other stuff, then they can't, deal with the everyday world. And I won't say that that's my personal belief. I'm just saying a lot of people believe that about religion. And so I think that's kind of what they're trying to say here, is that religion could be just like a drug, just like anything else. Something you become dependent upon, and you stop facing reality and start, I'll just put it all in God's hands or whatever. I don't know. And again, guys, I am not mocking anyone's religion. I'm just trying to figure this movie out. I'm not a religious person myself, but I don't ever mock people's religions. I try not to. It gets hard sometimes. What bothers me is when I see a religious person mocking another religion, and they're talking about, that's ridiculous. Well, let's talk about some of your stories. Let's talk about some of your fairy tales, right? And me myself, I'm not a religious person. I just don't believe in that. I'm more likely to believe in Star Wars than religion. That's the way I feel, because Star Wars has that great opening line of a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So I throw out all my disbelief at that moment. If the Bible started out that way, or some of these other religious texts, then I would be able to buy into them a whole lot more. I'd be like, yeah, maybe it did happen. It didn't happen here because I know I can look around and see what happened here, but maybe it happened somewhere. And again, I'm trying not to get into that point where I'm mocking anybody's religion. I'm just trying to be funny, and I'm also, just talking about the film. So yeah, and then we see that there's another scene here where a bunch of maniacs drag Jesus into this temple, or this guy who's supposed to be portraying Jesus. I don't know Jesus, so I can't say how accurate the portrayal is. But yeah, and then we see that Jesus is cannibalized. His flesh is eaten, and his blood, they drink his blood. And of course, that, that's supposed to show us that if you took these things literal, they would be ridiculous, I guess, is what it's supposed to show us. And also, then he's sodomized. It's a bad day for Jesus in this movie. And I guess that is supposed to, represent that the fact that people have fucked religion to death. I don't know what it's supposed to represent. I just know what I got from it, guys. I would really suggest, if you want to, dig into what this imagery means, you go watch it for yourself. But don't be offended by it. It's just artistic expression. Don't get into the, they made fun of my religion. That's ridiculous. So what? Somebody made fun of your religion. People make fun of religions all the time. We took the entire religion of an entire group of people and named it mythology. We put the insult right in the name of it. So don't get offended by people making fun of your set of stories. I will say that. And guys, that's about all I got for this one. I'll say this. I kind of feel sorry for the director. He got hammered pretty hard here. I think there is some very interesting stuff in the movie. He was young when he made it, around the age of 19 or 20. And so some of the stuff in there is like, yeah, it's just, It's just nihilistic and mean spirited. Uh, but it's I'll say this: I don't appreciate the fact that people get attacked for making films that everyone doesn't love. No one's gonna love everything, right? And so, like Fangora commented on this film and said it was packed full of imagery that would incite thoughts, many of which would be considered unhealthy in any artistic medium. Really, Fangora? You're the moral compass for horror filmmakers now. I mean, of course, this is 20 years ago, but we all know that there's been a lot of shit going on at Fangora for a lot of years that was not moral in any way. There's been women sexually assaulted, cover-ups, all kinds of shit went on at that place. That's why it's going under, uh, or went under, I should say. But anyway, I digress. Some of the other critics have called it junk, amateurish, cinematic crap, the worst movie I've ever seen. I just, those aren't reviews. Those are just crappy, terrible opinions about things. That's that. When you tell me, well, this sucks ass. Well, that's not an opinion to me. That's just a statement. That's not an opinion. It doesn't give me any, view of the film from your perspective. It just, oh, that's crap. That sucks ass. And when I see that people do that stuff in my horror group, I usually, remove them or remove the post at least. And of course, I don't think it helped that this guy's last name was Hussein. I know he's Canadian, but they tried to really go after him. He went on a business trip to America. When he's coming back across the border, the Canadian Border Patrol stopped him. The customs officers searched him. They inspected his film. They watched it actually, and they were appalled by its content, and they confiscated it as illegally obscene material. And as a result, the stock, the original cut of this film was put into hiding for like a year and a half because they were afraid that they were going to come after it and destroy it. And it's just ridiculous, man. If you don't like something, don't watch it. There's warnings on these films. There's rating systems. There's guys like me out here telling you, don't watch it if you can't handle it. So I think that there's two scenes in this movie that really got people going: the birth scene and then the Christ scene. And of course, we know most people are just mildly religious. They go to church, they have their own beliefs, but they don't attack other people for not having their beliefs, and they don't attack other people for they don't go after Family Guy every time they do a Jesus joke, right? But they went after this film pretty hard because they did not like the fact that they felt like they were being made fun of, I think is what it was. But all in all, guys, I'm going to give it 6.5 out of 10. I think it's better than your average shock film, better than your average extreme horror film. And I'm giving it that extra 0.5, that 6.5. I'm giving it that extra 0.5 to tell the haters to go fuck themselves. Why not? Quit trying to ban shit, you fucking Nazis. But anyway, yeah, guys, that's all we got for this time, and I'll be back in a little bit, maybe even tonight or the next day. I've watched a lot of these movies in the last week, and I haven't been doing a whole lot of reviews, so I got a lot to talk about. And guys, we will talk to you the next time we got something worth talking about. Bye.